Okay. So welcome to Mind Body Connection. I'm delighted to introduce Rachael Talbot, who's going to start off with no further introduction.
let this next person, let Charlie come in, and then I'll start talking. So
maybe I should just sort of explain how we met, Rachael.
Yeah, that's cool. Totally.
Yeah. So I've been doing mind body connection work for the last 3 years throughout COVID and in Singapore, in the UK. Now, my practitioner recommended that I do an online course with Rachael on SRI, which is what we're going to cover today. And I was so profoundly impacted by that before she knew it, I came up to Chester and I did a full day session with her and the people that she works with. So I really wanted her to sort of help you all take that next step of really sort of deepening your connection between your mind and your body, because as you know, that we have all the answers that we need within us. Everything is within us, and we just need it to sort of start communicating and listening to our own selves, listening to our body, and to be able to tap into the wisdom within it. So Rachael is here to show us some really amazing techniques to help you do that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you all to mute yourself, because I know what Zoom does when people make noise, and you end up getting the person who's just made a little bit of noise on the screen. So for the recorded people, it makes it a lot better. So I'm Rachael Talbot. I'm a doctor of chiropractic. And to my amazement, I qualified 20 years ago. Don't quite know how that happened. For the majority of my chiropractic career, I've been doing a very non-standard chiropractic approach called network spinal analysis, which you will find all over the world, but most people don't know about it, and there's no cracking. But the real thing that network has that's very, very different is it's part of a group of approaches called reorganizational healing. And the guy who came up with them has also done a bodywork technique that we teach to, honestly, anybody who's interested in personal growth or healing, which is called the 12 Stages of Healing. There's a book by the same name. The author is Donnie Epstein. If you read it, I know Georgina loved it. Most people lose the plot when they read the book, but it is the first text on the work I'm going to teach you tonight. It's a bit headspace, and it's very American. I have nothing against Americans, but it's hard read. Now, you're a very international group, so that may not be a challenge for you, but a lot of people find it quite challenging. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to teach you the first two, possibly the third stage, depending on how much time we have, of how to get into the body. Now, the 12 stages of healing is actually about human consciousness. So there are 12 different stages of human consciousness as defined by Donnie Epstein. But when you hear what they are, you will see that they're pretty much across the board. But what he came up with was 12 exercises that actually help you connect to your body, so you can either amplify a consciousness or explore a consciousness within you. And when I was first exposed to this technique, I was pretty numbed out. I'd had a lot of stress in my body. I was about as dissociated as I could have been. And I actually found this technique super challenging, but I taught it to all my clients and they loved it. And that annoyed me quite a lot, because they were more aware and more connected than I was, mainly because they'd had less trauma than I'd had. So I persisted with it. And this technique has just become a key part of my practice. So I spent lockdown teaching it to everybody, because for a few weeks, at least in the UK, I couldn't go into my physical practice. And then I carried on for about 2 years because I could reach so many more people. So you're going to get a little taste. And Georgina's just done a course with me that ended last week, where we actually went through the full 12 stages. Tonight, you're just going to get a taster. I'm just going to break down what the stages mean, because then you'll understand why we're going to do what we're going to do. The first stage is actually called suffering, which is a crap name for an exercise. But that's what happens if you are disconnected from your body. So actually the purpose of stage one is to really connect you into your body and show you what works and help you find resources you may not know you have, because a lot of people don't know how to connect into their body. And the second stage is about exploring your relationship to emotional triggers in the body. And most people can be triggered. You're probably quite advanced because you've got an amazing coach, but I will defy anyone not to find something in their body that triggers them. So this is quite an interesting exercise. I'm just going to give you the whole 12, just so you know the background. Third stage. The first stage of consciousness is I'm helpless, I'm suffering, and nothing works, which is a pretty low level of consciousness, and none of you will be there, because if you were, you wouldn't be on the call. Stage 2 is it's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. The consciousness is called polarity, but it's about the kind of people who go around blaming everybody else or looking for someone to fix them. So they don't actually own what they do or who they are. Third stage of consciousness is called stuck in a pattern. And this is when you realize that you have something to do with why you feel helpless and why nothing's working. And a lot of people start, I'm going to guess, coaching in that state. And a lot of people start chiropractic with me when they feel like they've tried everything and they can't get a breakthrough and they can't move forward. The fourth stage of consciousness is reclaiming your power. I talk a lot more now about taking personal responsibility. It's the difference between stage 2 is power over or power under. You either give all your power away or you have power over somebody else. Stage 4 is I take full responsibility for everything I do, everything I think. And that is the start, in my view, of when people really start to heal and grow, when they really own their shit. Every decision they make, I'm seeing some nodding heads, because this one took me a long time. I did not like this stage at all. And we're not going to do this one tonight because I want to give you the foundation first. Stage 5 is about recognizing the patterns, the mind games that keep us small, and merging with the energy that created them so that you can use that energy to rewrite your rules. Stage 6 is building up the energy for resolution. Stage 7, which is when you can actually release some of the tension patterns and behavioral patterns that limit you. The 5 higher stages are all about soul and connection to who you are. Stage 8, I describe as peaceful waiting. It's that space when there is nothing to do and massive potential, but you actually need to wait and be and totally be with who you are. And for me, it's the first step of being a human being, not a human doing. And I think most of us spend a bit too much time being human doings. Once you've started to connect to who you truly are, you can expand to connect to the energy that makes you and experience yourself as so much more than a physical being. Stage 10 is sometimes described as enlightenment, which honestly, when I first heard it described like that, meant nothing to me at all. But it's actually when you realize at an embodied level that you are part of something so much bigger. And you are a soul who is in a sea of souls, and you are connected to the all. And if any of you come and do a stage 10 with me and you have a connection, it can feel like the world has dissolved and you're just in a soup of, I'd say, amazingness. That was my experience the first time it happened to me. Stage 11 is about giving and receiving gifts. And stage 12 is community. Be it the community of cells that make up you or the community you're part of. So we are a nice small community tonight. And when you have danced your way through the first 12 stages, rinse and repeat. But every time you connect to your body, you will learn more things. So what I'm going to take you through tonight is a journey into the body. Some of you are going to find this really easy. Some of you are going to think I'm crazy. And some of you are going to discover quite a lot about yourselves. So when I teach this in person, I can see all of you. Now in a minute, I'm going to actually, if you can, I'm going to invite you to lie on the floor or a sofa or something flat. You don't want your head tucked forward. You want your whole spine flat, unless you've got a big hump on the back of your back, in which case you're allowed a pillow. If I can see you while you're doing it, if I see anything interesting that needs rectifying, I'll point it out. But if you don't want to be seen, you're completely free to hide from me. But if you can put your cameras on you while you do it, I can actually make this much more practical and much more interactive, because I've got all of you on the screen at the moment. So we're going to connect into 3 positions on the body. So before we go into position, I'm just going to show you where they are. Got your collarbones here, your hands palm over palm. I don't want your hands like this, which loads of people do. And I don't want them like this. I want them nice together. Position 1 is with the top of your hands literally just below your collarbones. I'm going to bring my camera down so you can see this. Position 2 is the soft spot where your ribs come together, solar plexus. Position 3 is the belly button. And we're going to do a lot of work in those 3 positions for the next 30, 40 minutes. So does everybody want to get comfortable? I say, if you can tilt your cameras, I'd love to see you. If you can't, that's the way it is.
And
I've done this to I've seen so many people's houses in the last few years. I
does
love
anyone
Zoom
have any questions, Rachel, before we move on?
I'm kind of hoping at this point we don't need questions, but I will definitely take questions once we've had a go at stage 1.
Righty.
That's the beauty of being interactive. Okay. You get that benefit because you're on the call with me. And I want you to lie flat with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. We call that semi-supine. The reason we use that position is it protects the low back. Lovely. So that's great. So I can see a few of you. Andrew, you're vanishing into sunflowers, which I completely love. Okay. So just let your hands drop to your side. And I want you to become aware of the breath. And you're going to switch your breath pattern to in the nose and out the mouth. So knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Hands by the side. Perfect. I've just got a few people just joining, so I'm just going to let them catch up. So feet flat on the ground, knees bent, arms by your side. And just notice your breath. Some of you will be straight out of bed, so notice how the night has treated you. Some of you will be at the end of a day or in the middle of a day. Just observe how the day is showing up in your body. Gently breathing in the nose and out the mouth. And you're going to place your hands onto position 1, which is with your hands just below your collarbones. You can see me if you don't know where that is. Perfect. And I want you just to direct your breath into your hands and just become aware of this area. If you can, relax your elbows, hands resting really gently on the body. And just bring your attention to your upper chest. And notice, what's your experience when you connect and focus on this area? Is it easy to direct the breath into this area? Is it uncomfortable? Is it a pleasant sensation? Or are you just hoping I'm going to rush on to the next position? Because everyone will have a different experience. Breathing in the nose and out the mouth. And then you're going to move your hands to position 2. So watch me if you need to check. So soft spot where the ribs come together, close to the solar plexus. You're just going to place your hands in that position. And bring your attention to this area, breathing in the nose and out the mouth, directing the breath under your hands. And notice your experience in this area. Some of you will really prefer focusing here. Some of you will not like it. Or you may be neutral about it. Just notice what happens when you bring your attention to this area. And now you're going to bring your hands to the belly button, the navel. And again, breathing in the nose and out the mouth. Really observe what happens when I bring my focus to this area. Can I direct my breath under my hands? How does my body respond when I bring my focus into position 3? Does it work for me? Is it more challenging? Is it easier? Really, really noticing. What we're going to do in a moment is we're going to do 3 breaths in each position. And after that, I'm going to ask you to decide which area works the best for me. So if you want to take your hands back to the top position. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Really let the breath come into your hands. Now you're starting to get the hang of what I'm talking about. Making sure your hands are palm over palm. Don't spread them out too much. Smaller area is easier to connect to. Lovely. And then move your hands to the middle position. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Really observing how it is when you connect to this area. And then moving your hands down to position 3. Again, directing the breath into your hands. Really noticing what happens when I bring my focus here. And now I'm going to ask you all to make a decision. And this is your body, so you cannot be wrong. I want you to put your hands in the position that you have the most connection to. The one that feels like it works the best for you. 1, 2, or 3. And you're just going to focus on what works in your body for a few breath cycles. If 2 positions are very similar, don't worry. You just want one that works. And then of the remaining 2 positions, one of them will be the one you like the least. I want you to put your hands into that position and observe how different you feel when you focus on what doesn't work so well. And just notice the difference. And then come back to the area that works the best. You always want to spend more time focusing on what works, because that will change your physiology more effectively. Now, in this position, we call this the area of ease. And what we're going to explore now is how you best connect to your body, because how you focus on an area can change the degree of connection you get. So for now, we've been focusing on breath, so we're going to stick with that just for a moment. So breathing in the nose and out the mouth. I want you to really observe the breath coming up into your hands in the area that works. And just notice how it feels, what the experience is when you focus on breath. And you're going to keep breathing in the nose and out the mouth. But you're going to switch your focus to how the area moves. And as you breathe in, you're going to allow the muscles to help expand this area. And on the out breath, you're going to relax. So you're going to really focus on the movement. And I want you to observe, if I focus on the movement, does that increase my ability to stay present with this area, or does it get in the way? So really focusing on expanding and relaxing this area with the breath. How does that change my experience? Do I have a better connection with breath as my primary focus? Or do I have a better experience with movement? Now we're going to explore 1/3 way of connecting. I want you to become aware of the energy under your hands. And as you breathe in, you're going to expand the energy. And just observe the rise and fall of the energy under your hands as you connect. And some of you will not have any idea how to connect with energy. If that's you, don't worry about it. But if energy works for you, really notice what happens when you focus on it. Still breathing in the nose, out the mouth, but focusing on the energy. And then I want you to take your focus back to the breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Really bringing the breath into your hands and observing that experience. And then you're going to switch your focus to the movement, how the area expands and contracts as you breathe in and out. Really bringing the movement into the foreground. And then switch your focus to the energy, observing the rise and fall of the energy, the flow of the energy as you breathe in and out. And again, I want you to make a decision. Breath, movement, or energy. And I want you to bring your focus to the one that works the best. In the area that works the best, which is where your hands are now. And really bring your focus to your best area and your best strategy. And observe how that affects your ability to connect to your body in this moment. Really noticing breath, movement, or energy. And then you're going to take your hands to the area that was a real challenge. And this time I want you to focus on the strategy that works the best. And see if that changes your ability to connect to this area. Two breaths and then back to your best area. Feeling the difference of what works and what doesn't work. What we're going to do now is we're going to use declarations to help connect us to the area that was a challenge. So there's two things I want you to carry on doing. I want you to remember breath, movement, or energy and keep focusing on the one that works the best for you. If you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. This is a new experience for many of you. We're going to move our hands in a moment to the challenged area, and I'm going to use 6 standard expressions. I know I have got more than one language on the screen, so I am obviously going to do these in English, but if your first language, the language you spoke for the first 7 years of life, was not English, I want you to translate it into your native tongue. And it's a bit fiddly, but it makes such a difference to speak to your body in the language you spoke before you were 7 years old. If you are genuinely bilingual, you have a choice. You can repeat it in the other language next time. So I want everybody to move their hands to their most challenged area. You're going to breathe into it, and then you're going to say, sometimes I feel disconnected. It's important to say it out loud. It activates more of the brain. And then observe what happens in this area. And then sometimes it feels like nothing works. And observe what happens. I can see some of you are moving. It's quite interesting. It can make you quite uncomfortable to say something you don't want to say. And take your hands back to your area of ease. And feel how good it is to connect to what works. For me, I feel like I'm charging at my hands when I put my hands in the area that works. So just see if that happens for you as well. Didn't happen to me initially. We're going to go back to the area of challenge. Sometimes it feels like it's never going to end. And observe how your body responds. Sometimes I feel so overwhelmed. Still in the area that's challenged. And then move your hands back to your area of ease. And enjoy that feeling. And we're going to the area of challenge one last time. Sometimes I feel so alone. You need to say it out loud and then observe how your body responds to that statement. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one. Observe. And then take your hands back to your best area. In a moment, we're going to go back into the area of challenge one last time. This time you have a choice. It may be that one of the statements I made really resonated with your body and you felt a big shift. If that was the case, I would repeat that statement. If you're unsure, I would say, sometimes I feel disconnected. Some people also like to make a sound. So if I was to do a sound in my good area, it would be something like, because it feels a lot of relief, a lot of ease. If I was to go to an area that I'm challenged in, it may be more of a, Now you've already done 6 affirmations, so there may not be much left, but sometimes the only way into an area that's disconnected is to make sound. So you also have that choice. And the brilliant thing about being at home is no one except your dog will hear you. So the last time you have a choice. Now, the statements are, sometimes I feel disconnected. Sometimes it feels like nothing works. Sometimes it feels like it's never going to end. Sometimes I feel so overwhelmed. Sometimes I feel so alone. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one. Or a sound. So for one last time, moving your hands into your challenged area, it's your choice what you do. If you're not sure, sometimes I feel so disconnected. Observe the body response one last time, and then take your hands back to your best area. And now we are going to take one breath in each position. So if you want to start with your hands on position 1, focusing on your best strategy, breath, movement, or energy. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then to position 2. And then to position 3. And I want your last breath to be in your best position, wherever that is. And then drop your hands to your side and just observe your body for a couple of breaths. And then I'm going to bring everyone back to the screen. And now you have a chance to either ask questions, but sometimes it's also really good to share your experience, because we're going to have had a lot of different experiences in the room. I've been watching some of you. So who would like to start? If no one starts, I'm going to ask a question. Can someone who connects with energy put their hands up? Because energy is the thing that some people don't understand, and I need the people who do use it to explain their experience. Were you energy, Georgina? Yeah, go on, you speak first.
Yeah, today I was a mixture of energy and breath. I find that both of them together works. And it's funny enough, when you said energy is an expansion of what I feel under my hands, I had to think about it, so it didn't come as easily to me. Normally, I kind of feel it as a swirling.
Interesting.
In my body. Yeah. Swirling of energy.
So that's how you experience energy.
Yeah.
Has anyone got a different experience? Because energy is the one that if people can't do it, they get really crazy about it. Susan, you have to unmute. I have no power to unmute anyone.
That's all right.
There we are.
Yeah,
Hey,
no, it was energy for me as well. It actually came to me fairly easily. I could really feel it in that position. It was really notable, and it was very different, right? I wasn't really sure, and then when you said it, and I felt I could really feel it. So that was the strongest for me.
Describe how you experience energy.
It was that movement, right? But it wasn't the breath movement. It was like kind of in many different directions almost. I could feel almost like a like pulsing under my hands.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm asking is because everyone knows what breath means and everyone knows what movement means.
Right.
It's an interesting one because we all experience it differently.
Yeah.
So I experience energy like a warmth and a buzzing. Different again. Does anyone else have a different experience of energy? Because I'm just curious. Sian.
Yeah. For me, it did change. At first, it felt like almost like a feeling of being high. And then when I was doing the wording that, struck strongly with me, it felt, how do I describe it? It felt like a wave of like different things. Trying to think how to put it into words though.
That's
almost like I could feel like a block, but in I don't know, in an energy form, but I don't know how to explain it.
Thank you for trying. It's challenging, isn't it, to explain what we feel in our bodies? Yeah, because how often are we asked to put it into words?
Yeah.
But all you have to know is what works for you. Now, for those of you that don't use energy, don't obsess about it. Focus on what works. I had a lady many years ago who came to me with a back problem, and I taught her this exercise, and she decided she knew better. So position 3 was her worst position, and her worst strategy was energy. So she put her hands into her worst position and focused on her worst strategy because they needed practice. And she amplified her back pain so much she couldn't stay on the floor. So if you only take one thing from this call tonight, what do we do when we have a problem? Quite often we focus on the problem. And what happens to our physiology? It goes down. It becomes less effective. So if all you take from this call is you have a position that works better and a strategy that works the best, you can change your state in a couple of minutes. For me, it's position 1 and it's energy. If I put my hands into there and focus on energy, my posture improves, my body relaxes, and my mind clears. And it's that simple. But I can't speak for you, but I was conditioned to focus on the problem. Yeah. And the whole emphasis of this approach is to find what works and amplify it, because then the rest of your body will catch it, if that makes any sense. I'm going to get a few more questions because I want a little bit more feedback. Who felt things change in their body and would be happy to share what changed?
Yes, Matthew here.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
I can hear you.
So definitely the easy position was my hands at the top. But then the difficult position, sort of after a few times breathing in and out, it's sort of the unease went away by itself. So it was like all of a sudden it wasn't the most difficult area anymore. So it was I don't know what happened there, but it felt good.
Yeah.
And similar to this energy part, I know what it is, I know what it feels like. It was there, but it's sort of mixed up with the breathing, as if it sort of dissolved within that. So it was a bit of a mixed state, but it felt very comfortable. So it was not like turning into, oh, I have to feel energy, it has to be breath. It was both at the same.
And we actually teach people as they get more advanced to blend the
You're
best
mute, I
two
guess.
together. So
Okay.
no,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
you're good. Yeah, we actually teach people to blend them once they get good at them. But you blend the two that are the best. So you're doing it naturally because you can't separate them, which is great. So I'm really happy with that. So the purpose of stage 1 in practice is to bring more ease into your body. And when you find the areas you have disconnected from and you can't get such a good connection, to try and bring a little bit more connection. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be more. So I give all my people in my office, this is their homework, is to do stage 1 for a few minutes every morning and every evening to see how they start the day and see how they end the day. And it's a simple practice, but it can tell you a lot about your body, especially if you're someone who spends a lot of time in your head. It can be very, very useful to get you back in. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach you stage 2. Because I think this is probably the most important of all 12 stages in some ways, because we all have situations where we disconnect from parts of ourselves. And sometimes if we're stressed, we'll disconnect from our gifts, from how good we are, and we'll end up underperforming, and we know we've done it and we can see ourselves doing it, but we have no control over it. In stage 2, we have our hands on two parts. So when I teach this initially, I usually say position 1 and position 3. So you've got your hands effectively at the top and the bottom of the sympathetic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that keeps you in stress and keeps you in fight flight. But you need these two areas to feel slightly different. If they feel absolutely the same, I'm going to get you to move your hands a bit lower or a bit higher till you have two positions that feel different. And then what we're going to do is we're going to breathe between the two positions. So you're seeing a lot of my body and less of my head, good on my camera. I'm going to breathe here. And I'm going to breathe here. And I'm going to breathe here. And what you're going to observe is one position is going to dominate and one position is going to go quiet. And we're going to explore how that happens, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. But if you may find that the area that you're using at the moment that just feels like position 1 is great, as soon as you bring position 3 on, you're connecting to two places at the same time. Position 1 is silent. So we're going to explore this, see how it happens for you. It's really about connecting to the parts you have pushed away and denied and don't like. And you're all being coached. So I know you all have those parts because you're all aspiring to be more and to be better. This was my absolute nemesis when I started this work. So I hope one of you at least has my experience, because I've got so many gifts from this stage. Now I've mastered it. This is a little bit wordy. I want you to trust me and go with it. You will find that I'm probably going slightly faster than you want to. That is to try and keep your mind out of it. So even if it's uncomfortable to go at the speed I ask you to go at, please try and stay with me. I know a few of you are going to be translating. I will keep it slow enough so that you can translate, but I want you to stay with me. So you need to be in the same position as last time. I say it'd be great to see you if I can. The cameras were really well positioned last time. So you're going to have lying comfortably on your back, knees bent, one hand at the top of your chest and one hand at the bottom. That's good, Bindi. I can see you now. Cool. Okay. And I just want you to observe, how does it feel to pay attention to two parts of your body at the same time? You're not doing anything with the breath yet. You're just noticing. How is it? What's different when I try and pay attention to two parts of me at the same time? Because it's something we're asked to do on a daily basis. Now I want you to breathe into the top position, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then breathe into the bottom position, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And the top position, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And the bottom. And with each breath, just noticing, how does that area feel? How does that area expand? Back to the other one. Just alternating in and out. And in and out. Just observing how it is to try and get breath into one position and then another. Just noticing. One of the positions is going to be slightly easier to get breath into. And I want the next breath to go into the position that you are finding it easiest to get breath into. So breathing into that position. And then breathing into the more difficult one. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And the easier one. In and out. Now we're going to talk a lot. I'm going to say things out loud. You want to copy me. So the next breath into the best position. I have different parts. And then breathing into the other position with different rhythms. And then back to the best one. Some parts I like. And some parts I don't like. Some parts are fantastic. And some parts are horrible. Some parts are beautiful. And some parts are ugly. Some parts are lovely. And some parts are disgusting. But ho, 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 ho. They're all parts of me. And if laughter doesn't come naturally, I want you to force it. Because sometimes the only way through something is to laugh. Because is it crazy that we have a different relationship with different parts of ourselves? And keep breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just noticing how the positions are responding. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And still observing which area is harder to connect to. Now you're going to keep your hands in the positions they're in, but you're going to put all the breath into the hand that's hardest to connect to. So still breathing in the nose and out the mouth, but just breathe into the one that's hard to connect to. And I want you to see yourself as a small child. And little you is finding it hard to speak up, to find their voice, to be heard. And you as grown-up you is going to invite this younger version of you to speak up. And the way you're going to do it is very lovingly. You are going to say, speak up, followed by the name you were called as a child. So I was always Rachel, but you may have had a nickname. So I would breathe into this area and say, speak up, Rachel. So you want to say this out loud. Speak up, Rachel. Obviously using your name. And observe what happens in that area. And then we're going to try something different. Find your voice, Rachel. Speak your truth, Rachel. And if there's something else, words of encouragement you need to say, you can do that as well. But it's about getting little you to find his or her voice. Just observe how your body responds. And then we're going to go back into connecting alternately. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth into the other position. And then the other position. Alternating the breath in and out. In and out. In and out. And again, speaking out loud, I have different parts with different rhythms. My parts don't always agree with each other. My parts don't always like each other. All my parts need to do is share their wisdom and listen to the other parts. So as you breathe into one of the areas, on the out breath, you are going to imagine sharing all your wisdom down through the spine to the other part. And as you breathe into that part, you're going to receive the wisdom of the other part and then share the wisdom of that part through the spine and up into the other hand. So breathing in and receiving wisdom, breathing out and sharing the wisdom, breathing in and receiving, breathing out and sharing, passing the information between the two positions, in and out, and in and out, and in and out, and in and out. Just carry on the rhythm for a few more breath cycles. And then allow your hands to drop to your side, and I want you just to observe. Let the breath go wherever the breath wants to go. Notice your own dominant strategy, breath, movement, or energy, and observe what's happening in your body at this moment. Just notice. And sometimes this stage can bring up emotion. Some of you may feel your body trying to wave, trying to reorganize. Just allow your body to do whatever it needs to do. Staying focused on your best strategy. Breath, movement, or energy. Observing where it goes in the body. And you're going to come slowly back to the screen. Beautiful. So talk to me. Tell me what happened and ask me questions. And Susan, I have to say your dog was completely fascinated by you. That was a delight to watch.
He was very
just
confused.
He was just watching your hands. It was wonderful. It was like watching tennis. The dog was just head up and down the body. It's beautiful. Who would like to share? Who would like to ask a question? Shan. Shan, am I saying it right? Shan?
Yeah, Shan. I actually felt a lot of resistance once we stopped focusing on the breathing patterns. Like when I just was lying there, I felt almost like, well, why am I not good enough in the other area too? And it was annoying me. And I felt, yeah, I just feel a bit of resistance around it.
I'm going to coach you now. Does that happen in life?
Yeah.
Because your body will mirror back at you what happens when you come up against something that you struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Georgina knows a little bit more about these stages. Your language is actually quite stage 3, which is you're stuck and you're frustrated. It's like, "Arr!" Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I was working with you one-on-one, I'd do stage 3 with you now, but we're not going to have time tonight. I'm so sorry. But just observe how that unwinds. Because just by bringing consciousness to the fact that you checked out of part of you, because we often push down parts of us. When people first do this, they often discover they've pushed down parts they don't like. And I call it the dark stuff. Like you might be a bit selfish or something like that. And you're determined not to let anyone know that you can be selfish. But what most of us do is we push down the light as well. We push down our gift. And when you start to unwind these patterns with this stage, it can get, for example, easier to take a compliment. Yeah. And it can change your relationship to parts of you that aren't perfect. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we all have these. But yeah, I'm really glad you struggled a little bit. Because when it's too easy, you don't take anything from it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. But your body is mirroring back your mental process. So that's really useful to see.
Makes sense.
I'm curious how that unwinds. Thank you for sharing that. I love that you shared a struggle because most people tend to share when it's brilliant, which I also want to hear. But thank you for starting that. Anybody else? Mindy.
Hi. I thought the laughing bit was really interesting because yeah, I think that was a sort of unexpected. And then you sort of think to laugh, but then when you force the laugh, you actually do feel like it's funny. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
For me, I thought it was a nightmare the first time I did it because I was so self-conscious. It's one benefit. I did it in a room full of people, colleagues, even worse, colleagues. Yeah. But I think it's super powerful. And when we see, I could talk for like 2 hours on stage 2. Stage 2 is really about, has anyone ever had an argument with their partner and they know that they are right and their partner is wrong? Yeah, because we're always right and our partner's always wrong. Everyone gets that. And you get to that point, there's only one solution because you can't remember why you're right. You just know you're right. And the only way through it is laughter. And you have to laugh at yourself because it doesn't really matter who's right. You just love this person. So it's a really nice observation. And a lot of us struggle to laugh at ourselves because we get so intent and serious on trying to be something we're not. So brilliant that you liked it. I like it. I've perfected the art of laughing stupidly on camera. Anybody else have something they observed that they found fascinating?
Oh yeah, that laughing bit was basically almost interrupting the experience because I did go with Georgina through this little kit, bringing the kit back in you out, coaching. That went really well, and so up until that point, it was like I and you said, call out your name and say you can speak, you can talk, whatever you can. There was like, I know from that part where it's, let's say, less easy to breathe. It liberates. It felt good. And then this laughing part came. I was like, oh, wait, sort of. And then that went well in a way, I would say, sort of. And then so towards the end, the experience was that the two parts really opened up, like the whole. So that was a really good feeling afterwards. Like it's the whole space. So the two parts became joined through that exercise of going up and down through your spine with the wisdom. That really did work very well. Yeah.
So you're very blessed because you had a full stage 2 the first time you did it, which is awesome. So I love that.
Yeah.
And just observe when you resist laughing, because it can be useful when we don't. I don't know you at all. Can you laugh at yourself?
Yes, I can, but I don't do it that often. It's,
Yeah.
I'm really not very serious about it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you know what I mean, right?
I do. Cool. But I love that you had a really nice connection at the end, because that's what we're looking for. So that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I saw another hand go.
Ella.
Yeah, I just want to say that between stage 1 and 2, my less comfortable place became my most exhilarating place. And I think the transformative step was really the speak out, find your voice. That was incredible. And my most uncomfortable place was position 1. And the transformation was like, I'll make an analogy. I just moved, changed house, and now I have to. I have three stairs that I have to climb. And so I arrived at this new place 5 weeks ago, and it was impossible to climb. I mean, it was difficult. I mean, I was tired. I had to stop at stair 2, floor 2, and now I'm running. I'm running all the 3 floors, and really I don't realize it, and it's just and it felt exactly like this, like my breath totally expanded. I started, like, my throat started roaring. It was very interesting. It's just like something that started by itself that liberated in my throat, and my breath became so big, and this space that was so full of tears and so tight at first stage just. And my breath became massive. It was very interesting.
Hands up, who else wants her experience? That's perfect.
That was really very surprising. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Great.
Thank you for sharing that. Because what I love when I do with groups is how different everybody's experience is. Yeah, because it's easy to do this. And if you have a difficult experience the first time, you just go, bah, that doesn't work. Yeah, and of the 12 stages, we all have bogey stages. And a lot of people go, I would say stage 2 about stage 2, and they go, I'm not stage 2. But we all contain some of this within us. But we can be very protective of the parts where we hold emotions, where we feel things we don't like. And then just through breathing into them, and the speak up is so important, because many of us didn't speak up as kids, and it's important to visualize yourself little. It doesn't mean you can't use this to process stuff that happened later in life. So I lived in the Netherlands for 3 years, and my Dutch was fairly good, and there was quite a lot of trauma while I was there. And I used this exercise to unwind some of it by doing it in Dutch, because I'd imprinted that trauma in Dutch. But most of the stuff we learn has got hooks into the first 7 years. So when I do it in the office, I have a lot of people crying quite often. But I worry less when you're at home. Anybody else got anything they want to add or ask about stage 2?
I found quite emotional. You know, I do a lot of stage 2 because that's I can notice a lot of the narrative in my head around stage 2. I'm a Gemini as well, but I wasn't expecting to be so emotional in stage 1 as well. But it felt good. It felt like my body was processing it, so there were no stories around it. I was feeling shaky, And I was also aware of this incredible energy in the group as well. I think that it was such an incredible group of people that we are almost expanding each other. So that was amazing. And Rachel, one thing from doing your courses, I just wanted to say, if any of you watch this as a replay and keep on doing it, when you do the speak up Georgie, or whatever it is, to do it in your own language as well.
Yeah, apologies, I didn't say that. Yeah, always do everything in your first language, because it makes such a difference. My husband's German and he speaks amazing English, and so point blank refused to do anything in German when we first learned this. It's him as well. And when he finally agreed to do it in German, it was so much more powerful, because he'd had the experience in his English is better than mine, and I'm English. You know my husband, Georgina. So thank you so much for your attention tonight. If any of you want to explore this more, there is stuff online that you can buy which is pre-recorded, which will teach you how to do all of this stuff in more depth. There is also, for anyone who's interested, a 12 stages in 12 weeks course coming up starting in October, which will work for some of you, and it might work for you, others of you on the replay, where we're going to spend an hour once a week going deep into a stage. So we do a lot more. Tonight, I feel like I crammed 2 stages into about 40 minutes. Stage 1 and stage 2 is where we'll put the most effort, because they are the 2 most complex of the stages. There's a lot of stage 1 I couldn't fit into this workshop. But then as we progress through the weeks, we're going to blend them with other stages. So every stage will be highlighted for a while, but then we'll blend it so you can actually relate it much more to life. And I found it an incredibly powerful tool. And I know it sits beautifully alongside coaching, because Georgina's totally fascinated by it. And quite a lot of my clients are holistic therapists of varying kinds, and a lot of them are starting to use it with some of their clients, because they know how it helps to get people out of their heads. And we all get stuck in our heads. I lived there for about, I'd say pretty much 40 years. I'm 53 now. And I was so in my head, I'd forgotten I had a body. And then I discovered I had a body, and it opened up so much for me. And having listened to you guys tonight, some of you are way ahead of where I was when I started this. But it's been one of the most powerful techniques I've come across. And it's easy. Yes, calm. That is what so many people, thank you, Julie, so many people say after doing the early stages. So I don't know what time zones you're all in, but if you're about to go to bed, you'll really like the fact you've just done this, because most people sleep really well. Because I tend to teach these in the evenings. I tend to do them 7:38 in the UK time, so people go home and go to bed. And it can really help bring the stress down. So I hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate you all taking time out. And it's lovely to see some faces I don't know. And thank you so much for those of you that shared. Are there any questions before we wind up? Because we're 5 minutes over. But I'm happy to take more questions if you want.
And I'm happy to say I'm going to be sharing the video replay of this. So Rachel, if you could just send me any links that you want me to share onwards, that if anybody wants to find out more, I can. Yeah.
That would be lovely. And thank you so much, everybody. It's been a real pleasure to do this.
Thank you, Rachel. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.